already in rant mode, this is a perfect way to start things.
All right, hello everybody and welcome to podcast, Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode 90. Hello, a croeso podcast rhif 98, only 2 away from that century. My name is Mr. Gareth Evans. Joining me today is Mr. Henry, Days Gone 2 meetup. Cooper.
I'm wearing my Days Gone t-shirt in mourning of its tragic defeat. I do have my Days Gone hat over there, but I thought that would be a bit double denim, a bit too much.
Did you hear about the change.org petition for Days Gone 2?
As soon as I hear the words petition, my eyes roll all the way back into my head and back round again, because I don't believe anything that they do ever, especially a little change.org one. I mean, if it's like a actual government petition, maybe it might mean something, although everyone knows the government doesn't actually listen to their people. But yeah, I have heard about it. How's it doing? What are the sign-ups at the moment? How many pledges?
Well, I think they were aiming for 10,000 signatures. They're currently at 15,255. It's going up as I speak. So who knows if they get to something nearing notable, which might be 100,000, couple 100,000. That might give Sony pause for thought, you think?
No, I don't believe so. I think, well, the thing is, Days Gone 2, it's not like definitely dead. This is all based on a report anyway, so it's all unconfirmed. So how it all started was Jason Schreier's report, in case you didn't watch any of the videos. Jason Schreier did a little report. He's been speaking to people inside Sony and Naughty Dog and the different studios and that. But then after that, one of the directors of Days Gone went on a podcast and talked a little bit about it. A lot of hedging, because he's under a strict NDA and can't say a bunch of stuff. But ultimately, it's definitely not happening. And that was a grammatically correct sentence. It does
not definitely sense. Not happening.
It's not definitely
Double
not
negative.
Happening. But it's not currently happening. It may come up, in a few years' time, but it's not happening anytime soon, at the very, very least. It was a rejected pitch. That was the news of it. It's a rejected pitch. It's not a cancellation.
It's one of those games that will, I won't say it's a cult classic, but it's got its fans and it's got its. Especially, you read the comments on the video that you made this week about it. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people with a lot of strong feelings towards that game, positive feelings, and they would love a sequel. So the more time that goes by, it will only amass more fans, so that when the sequel does come along, there'll be all the more people ready to buy it. And I think, I don't know if it's a bad decision to put it on pause on it for a little bit. I think
I don't think we needed it this early, because the game came out in 2018, and then according to the reports, the pitch was in 2019. So that's immediately a year after, and then if we add 3 years development time onto that, it's still quite soon. So I'm happy to just sit and leave it for a bit, as long as we come back to it at some point.
Yeah, exactly. That's my feelings too. So with that kind of intro out the way, I'll just run through what we've got in store for you today for the podcast. I played a game and I'm going to talk about it. It must be the first time in months that I played a game. Holy hell, a gaming channel where the host actually plays games. I'll be talking about that soon. CoD banned a lot of the cheats, which was in the news this week. There's not a lot happening.
There's bugger all happening. The main reason I brought up this cheater one is because it's become a bit of a thing where I just laugh at cheaters getting caught. Like, I feel like I report on it maybe once a month. There's something that comes up. So we can all laugh along with Henry at the cheaters being banned in CoD. And then Henry's got this other Rings of Saturn reinvents demos, interesting kind of mystery element story there, so we'll leave that on tenterhooks for now. We've got a quiz courtesy of Metalshark later on, then we've got questions, then we've got the triggered comment, then YouTube comments, and then the bad dad joke of the week. It's a jam-packed podcast this week, and remember, if you want to support the content and ask some questions for the podcast, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, and you get our eternal gratitude, as well as access to the members only portion of the Discord. Get the podcast 2 days early, and you get to ask us questions for the podcast, which will come later on. There aren't loads of questions this week, but most of them are long as shit. There's a lot of beefy, wordy questions of a lot of background knowledge.
The last couple of weeks, we've featured one question in a separate video on the main channel. So I think what they're trying to do is everyone's trying to pitch for their question to be featured as the.
Keep doing it. It makes my life easier trying to find a segment that I can. The question ones are really easy because normally the conversation is already quite short. Like it's not 20 minutes long, so I don't have to rip out too many important bits. So keep doing it. They're really easy. Normally they're about one topic or one game, and I can just throw footage on that, and it's a piece of piss.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But first up, before we get into any of that, here's the intro Faff section. Do you have any Faff to contribute concerning Outriders that you've been playing this week?
So, Outriders makes me want to kill myself.
Frustrated this week, right?
So, last week, I was sort of flip-flopping between Narita Boy, which I love. It's fantastic, and the more I think about it, I'm like, so far this year, we're only in April, so it's not too deep, but so far this year, that's probably the game I've enjoyed the most. So if you want to talk Game of the Year, to me, the game I've enjoyed the most probably should be Game of the Year. It's currently Narita Boy. Like, fuck is it Outriders? I want to die. Outriders, It's pissing me off, and I've not written this as a segment because I kind of just want to just let it go. Just let it wash over me.
Let it all out, Henry. Let it all out.
Before I get too annoyed, I'm going to say I really like the gunplay. I really like the moment-to-moment stuff of shooting and firing off magic powers. I'm playing as a pyromancer, which in case you haven't played the game, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. They use fire attacks and sort of summons and sending waves of fire or plumes, volcanoes and stuff out from people's feet, that sort of stuff. That's all great when it freaking works. When I'm not trying to fight through, 10 to 40 frames per second in the middle of not anything. It's not a high energy scene. It's not particularly demanding. It's just, let's just slow everything right down. So you can't hit a fucking target you're trying to shoot. You can't do anything. And it's so inconsistent. So on the weekend, I was furious. I was really raging. And I think I just gave up, walked away from the computer. I was like, fuck it, I'm not playing anything. I'm just going to leave. And
rage quit.
Yeah, I just need to, get games off my brain for a few minutes. Then I played it again on Monday. Complete breeze. I had a fantastic time. I even played a little bit in multiplayer with some people. It went reasonably well. It wasn't with friends. It was just randos. That was fun. It's a co-op game. It should be played in co-op, and I've got fucking opinions on that. Let me tell you. But then I come to Tuesday. Complete disaster again. Everything stops working properly. Connection dropping in and out. The frame rate in the lobby is so appalling, and I have no idea why. I've changed all of the settings. I've increased things outside of the game, like assigning priority and disabling antiviruses and all that, I've tried virtually everything, and it's just all over the place. And then, again, come to yesterday, it was kind of hit and miss. Sometimes it was really good. I was like, up to, 100-odd frames. I was like, yeah, this is good. I'm having a good time. And then out of nowhere, let's just go back to 20. See what happens. See if you can hit this guy you're trying to shoot, even though we're throwing 4,000 enemies at you at once, because my god, the game is so poorly balanced for one person. Jesus Christ. Playing it on my own, I've mostly played it by myself. And it is better in co-op, but I've not got any my friends to play. I've got no friends to play with. I'm so alone. But I don't think it's well balanced for single solo play at all. So the difficulty works in terms of world tiers, which is very, very similar to Diablo, if any viewers have played that. You basically increase the difficulty of the environment, which will in turn increase the likelihood you'll get better loot, essentially. That's the trade-off. And you can set it to automatically knock up the world tier as you progress. You basically gain experience, and then you can go to the next one. It's a little bit harder. I think I'm on world tier 8 at the moment, and I'm level 20-something with my character. I've only got one character out of the 4 that you can run at once. And that it's not difficult in the sense of enemies are challenging and they have different strategies and you've got to think about it. It's just they send 100 at you at once with so many grenades. It's a cover shooter where you shouldn't play it like a cover shooter at all. I've seen a few different articles talking about this and I 100% agree. It looks a bit like Gears of War at first. Gears of War with magic powers. And to an extent, yes, that is true. But if you're sitting in cover, you're going to get annihilated because they will just throw grenades at you. They will sort of flank you, but it's not like a tactical flank. They will just come and stand next to you and just start hosing you with whatever their biggest gun is. So you just don't.
Each character regenerates health by being close to the enemies, right? So if you stand off, you can't.
They're all slightly different
heal
methods for each of them. Yeah, and one of my abilities I keep with this pyromancer, he basically sends out this like fiery tentacle and draws health from them, and they also like freeze. I don't mean like freeze in ice because that's a different character's ability. They just kind of like turn to stone, sort of. So that's useful, and all of the powers in different ways are really useful. Like for ages, I swore off this ability, which is called like volcanic rounds or volcaic rounds. I can't remember which one. It basically turns your bullets into fire. And I was like, well, I don't really need that because I'm already setting everyone on fire. What advantage does this have? But then I saw I had a mod that I could apply to one of my guns, and all of that mod stuff is really great. You can add a lot of personalization to it and build your character the way you want. I like that a lot. So I found this one which basically turns those rounds into like armor shredding rounds, and that is so useful. And then I found another ability which means it lasts longer and you can stack an extra magazine. That was great. All of that's really, really good. And then it's like, no, you're going to play at 35 frames per second and you're going to fucking hate it. And I just can't deal with it. That's if I can even get into a fucking game with the connectivity issues.
Wow.
And
listen to
this is a solo game. I don't want to play with nobody else most of the time. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Although on that note, yesterday I was at it wasn't a boss fight, it was just like an arena, and there were so many enemies, and I could drop the world tier down, but I'm too proud and stubborn to try to admit to myself that I will do that. So I was like, okay, let's matchmake. Let's see if I can find some pals to give me a bit of extra firepower. Same world tier, same everything. And instead, I joined one, which it says you will join at the same story point that you're at in your world. That totally didn't happen. I mean, maybe they were at that story point, but that's not where they were in the world. The world's not open, but it's a series of, not hubs, but kind of hubs. Like, they're very, very small. There's a few corridors you can go down, and they all have that little side questy things you can pick up. And they're sequential. You spend a little bit of time in one, then move straight on to the next one, and you can go back. Sometimes there's extra stuff. And it just dropped me right back to like the third one, and these guys were just doing side quest cleanup, and I'm like, that's cool. Like you do that. I mean, I like a bit of side quest. I've done quite a few, and I've kind of sworn them off now because I want to do more story stuff. But I want to be where I am. I want to be fighting the fight I want to fight, not in the arsehole of nowhere. And for a while, I was like, okay, fine, I'll just do this fight. We did it. It took freaking ages, because it was hard. That was a hard fight. I think it was on a world tier 11 maybe, which was far above my capabilities and my loot and everything, but we managed it. Although, speaking of the world tiers, there was one fight which was a boss, and I won't spoil who it is because it's a bit of a story thing, and at around the halfway point the story gets, well, I'm not going to say significantly more interesting, but it does get more interesting, because until that point it's just go here, do this, assemble a team of people with horrific haircuts. My goodness. There's a running joke that I've got bad hair on this channel, but my god, at least I don't look like one of the guys in Outriders. Fucking
wow.
Hell. But yeah, it got a little bit better now. So then there's this boss fight, and we were fighting the boss, fighting it by myself, and I was like, Jesus, this is hard. They are like on my ass the entire time. Quit out, came back in, and it actually worked. Actually got someone else to come in at the point I was in. It was a bloody miracle. But they were on world tier 10, and I was like, oh, I'm not really ready for this. I'm only on like 6 or 7, something like that. And we smashed it. We annihilated it just because there was 2 of us. I just think it's so poorly balanced for a single-player experience, and because it's a stupid, modern, not AAA game, but from a big publisher, Square Enix is who published it, you have to be online all the time. So my internet connections vary up and down, especially because my girlfriend lives here as well, so she's using half the internet half the time. So out of nowhere, you're just like, yeah, no, you're disconnected. Sorry, boss. Like... Game over. You were fighting that boss, that big giant ugly ass monster, and your frame rate was tanking, and you're having a real hard time just because of performance issues. Don't care. Doesn't matter. Fortunately, my inventory hasn't been wiped. When I spawned in, I thought it had, because he showed up in his pajamas or his underwear, like his t-shirt and pants. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was about to lose my mind. But fortunately, it just popped back in. It popped back in, and I was like, okay, rein it in. Wow. Calm yourself down. It's not total dog shit frame rate at the moment. It's a solid 60-ish. So that's about all I can hope for. But I'm trying, man. It's a review copy, so I need to review it at some point. And I'm trying, but I'm really having to force myself through it. Put it this way, if I wasn't reviewing it, or intending to review it in some form, this might just be my review. Who knows? I haven't decided yet how much more I can tolerate. If I wasn't playing it for review, I would have stopped by now. Because it is fun. It is fun. It can be a lot of fun, especially if you've got a good team, but it's not fucking ready. I think, I haven't watched his review, but Skill Up put up, it's on the thumbnail or the title or something. It's like, I'll recommend this when it's finished, because it sure as shit ain't finished yet, and that I haven't watched the video, but that's exactly how I feel. It's so almost there. You just give it more time. I think it was delayed anyway. It was meant to come out last year in 2020, and they've knocked it to
the end of last year. Yeah,
and man,
it was originally announced for the end of last year. Sorry, I'm not trying to knock you off your stride here. Keep going.
I'm about to fall off my own stride because I'm running out of energy to just fucking complain. And I'm trying to bring my brain back around it when I'm ranting. I'm like, no, it is fun. I like shooting stuff. Shooting stuff's really, really fun. I like using magic powers. I like being able to set people on fire, then just run up to them and nail them in the face with whatever I've got. Although, side note, this isn't anything to do with Outriders specifically. Is there anyone, please let me know in the comments, is there anyone in the world who likes burst fire weapons? I can't stand them. Just give me semi-auto or fully auto. I hate burst fire. Why? Do people like it? Do people use it? Forget. I can do that myself. I don't need 3-round burst, and it's like, oh, you've got 20 rounds. No, I don't, because you fire 3 at a time. Although 20 doesn't make sense because it doesn't even divide by 3. I'm losing my mind so much. Okay, I think it might be time we move on.
Well, I've got to congratulate you on that like scintillating rant there, Henry. It went over 10 minutes easily, and you hardly waited for breath. I just like some of the out of context clips from that rant. It was just they were just brilliant. Well done, Henry. But Outriders, there you go. It wasn't scripted, but Henry, you know, he's.
I've been stewing. I've been thinking about it all week. Like, can you just behave? Because you're really good. Well, maybe not really good, but you're pretty good. Exactly for this channel. It's like a solid 7 out of 10 kind of thing. And they get the shooting and what it needs to do right. The story's pretty shit even at this point, and it's just picking up. But I'm like, there's still not really much going on. Yeah. But the performance issues are doing my brain in. I can't cope much longer, and I would have stopped if I wasn't trying to review it.
Right, let's move on before we run out of time. I think we've got another 3 sections before the comments, so I'm going to be quite kind of concise with this one. The game that I've been playing is called Dex, and I didn't play a game for ages, and I was just perusing the Switch store looking for deals. I found this for £1.79. This came out on Switch last year. I was like, this looks alright. It's a 2D cyberpunk RPG kind of game, side scroller. Why not try it for £1.79? I had the gold points. I bought it for free. I had like £5 worth of gold points, so I got it free in essence. It's usually like 17, 18 quid. So, you know, bit of a deal there. Developed by Dreadlocks Limited. Originally released in 2015 after a Kickstarter campaign and early access through 2014. It released on all the platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, so it's available on them as well. However, like I said, recently on the Switch since 2020. And you play a character called Dex, the name of the game. You live in a place called Harbour Prime. You don't really have in terms of plot, you don't really have a backstory to begin with. You just wake up one day and this big corporation called the Complex, or group of corporations, they're after you. So they sent loads of assassins after you, but you get saved by someone called Raycast, who's a mysterious hacker. Tells you that you're the chosen one. Tells you to go meet a person called Decker in this cyberpunk world. How coincidental is that? Someone called Decker in the cyberpunk world, who's got a friend called Tony, who's kind of does all the augments and stuff. I don't really know much about Tony. He's just the guy with all the Decker's mate. And then after that, after the prologue, basically you get thrown into this new city with a new character, and you go around. You meet some interesting characters, do the missions for them, a bunch of bad guys to kill, and all the time you're trying to upgrade your character and basically get powerful enough to take on the Complex. That's essentially the premise of the setup. So, as you can imagine, cyberpunk world 2D makes it interesting because it's a 2D side scroller. And it's an RPG as well. It's a fully formed RPG, so it's got like skill upgrades, and it's got combat, and it's got hacking and side missions. So just to break down some of them, the combat, you've got a choice of melee or ranged combat. Pretty basic, but it kind of does what you want it to. It's not groundbreaking or anything. And you are very underpowered to begin with as a character, which makes the gameplay pretty tense at the start. And it's actually pretty good because you often have to, when you walk into one area, you often have to come back later or go and get yourself healed up or get yourself prepared for the area. And I like that about a game. I like being brick walled sometimes because it gives you a sense of achievement when you actually get there, and it also tells you, none of these characters that level with you as if you're not powerful enough, you just can't do it. So I just like that. I like that it doesn't hold your hand. It's not hand holding. It's difficult. It's supposed to be difficult. You're supposed to come back. You're supposed to be challenging. That's the combat. Like I said, it's not great in terms of shooting and melee. It's not great, but it's good. It's serviceable, let's say. Then there's a hacking side of it. So this is like the mini game, which if you hack it, you've got hacking skills, and you're the chosen one because you can hack into terminals without like actually plugging in. You can do it like remotely. So you've got like Wi-Fi hacking, which is, oh my God, just special. So the hacking mini game is basically a twin stick shooter thing, and you're like a little ship, and all the other little things are trying to get you. You're trying to shoot them and avoid them, and go to this special node which like unlocks the door or hacks into the information or whatever you want to do. So there's it makes it quite interesting. It's quite bland in terms of a mini game. It could be more to it.
I mean, how many good hacking mini games are there really? They're always, at least it's not as bad as the Spider-Man one where you just got to match components. And I couldn't stand that one.
It's quite good in terms of it gives you a lot of mobility. You're not just sitting there like trying to work out or match things up or move, like a jigsaw puzzle type of thing. You've actually got, it's like a separate game, although it's not that good to play. It gives another dimension, that's for sure. So after that, you've got the missions and the main mission and the side missions, which you pick up from meeting all the interesting characters around the city. Which is a good point of this game. The characters are very interesting, and the missions that they give you, they've all got a backstory, and they all tell you, why they're in the predicament they're in, why they need your help, and it's fully RPG in that way. It does, it is good in that way. Some of the themes that kind of are integrated into the side missions are very adult. So you're talking about doing a mission involving sex slavery. There's a lot of drugs in there. Obviously, cyberpunk world, so it's dark, gritty. You can expect some of those more adult themes, which for me is brilliant. Like, that's the type of game I want. I don't want to see this namby-pamby bullshit type of mission where nothing, it's watered down, let's say, for a certain audience. If there's somebody getting sold into sex slavery and you got to save them, then that's the real world, isn't it? This is the real world we're talking about, people. So I like that. It didn't pull any punches in terms of the themes. So they give you a mission. You usually got to go somewhere, talk to someone about something, or hack into a terminal, or get some information, or go and kill some bad guys or whatever, general run-of-the-mill type of side missions. When it comes to progression, it's kind of a mixed bag, really. You've got a skill tree, which is good, but it only has 8 skills, and half of them have only got 2 upgrades. So there's 4 skills that you've got 5 upgrades, or 5 levels of upgrading to, and there's only 2 levels of upgrades on the other 4. So you've got endurance, melee, ranged, and hacking, which I've got the long skill upgrades, and then you've got lockpicking, charisma, AR, and barter, which you only have 2 levels of upgrade, which is, I guess, kind of limiting, but it is an indie RPG type of game, a 2D type of game. So having this level of progression in it at all is kind of something. The fact that it doesn't have an extensive skill tree isn't a huge problem, especially when you'd need to pack the game world full of more features. For example, if you needed lockpicking 5 to open it, there have to be so many more doors and so much more content to the game that you can kind of excuse the fact that there's not that much to it. So the way that you gain these skill upgrades is that whenever you do a mission or you kill enemies, whatever, you gain some experience, and then eventually you level up. You get skill points whenever you level up, and you pay them into your unlock things into your skill tree. You also get augments too. It's a cyberpunk game. You've got to augment your body. You've got special abilities. So that comes into it too once you've unlocked or you've done the main story mission to unlock the augmentations, which get you things like jumping really high, or you can imagine. So that's my kind of really quick overview of the gameplay. So in summary, the things I didn't like was that the RPG elements were pretty thin. There's not loads of dialogue either, loads of dialogue options, and they're completely lacking any consequence. So it doesn't matter which order you press the dialogue or anything. Whenever it's just a little bit of exposition. If you choose the why are you doing this dialogue line, they'll explain a little bit, and then you kind of continue on to the next bit of the dialogue. So it's not a great deal of depth in that respect. And again, like I said, it is a 2D RPG and it is on the Switch, so just set your expectations accordingly. However, what I did enjoy is that the NPC characters are well made, and they've got decent stories, and the world is interesting in that it feels like it is being lived in. If I can use that cliche, it feels like there is, it's kind of authentic in its how it's built, and the characters are kind of genuine. It doesn't feel like they're being ham-fisted or anything. They've got, like I said, decent backstories, and they do attract you to their problems. The NPCs are fully voice acted, which is great. I like that. And when on the intro title sequences, I counted over 40 voiced characters while the credits rolling in the intro, which is a lot of voice acted gone in. A lot of voice acting that's gone into this game, and it's probably why the game itself weighs in at over 6 gigabytes in size on the Switch, which was surprising to me when I installed it. It made sense when you realise that all those files of recorded files voice files are all in there. So, like I said, that makes a lot of sense. The game itself shouldn't be nowhere near that in terms of the graphic style and the size of the world. So I haven't talked about the last thing that I really liked was the world. Yeah, the world itself is the world in the RPG, and just being in the world is kind of the one of the biggest selling factors, I think, for me. It is like, I know it's a 2D side-scrolling thing, but it's the world. The city's broken up into about a dozen districts, which you can fast travel to at will. And it doesn't take long to get from one side of the district to the other, but there's also verticality to it too. So there's rooms that you can go in. There's one high-rise part of the district. So you go into rooms, you go up in the lift, and there's obviously a stack of levels that you can go into. So there's a bit of depth to each of the districts in the city as well. So it's not just eternally scrolling from side to side. And also when you're traveling, the city is big, and there's a lot of places which you can't get to when you're a new character because you don't have the lock picking skills or the hacking skills or a big jump skill or whatever. So the city becomes deeper the older your character gets, essentially. So interesting world overall. Not too deep RPG, but I think the fact that I picked it up for $179 or free with my Nintendo coins, that obviously made it more appetizing for me, and I would recommend it for anybody who can pick it up on a sale. I think the Switch is a perfect platform of choice, especially for me. I do like the indie RPGs on the Switch. Golf Story is my favorite Switch game, and that is an indie RPG game, and it fits perfectly. This is another perfect fit for me, and I will be playing this. It's one of those you just pick up, play for a bit, and then put down, and it's got a variety of different gameplay. You can do a mission, or you can go and kill some bad guys, or you can do a hacking minigame. There's lots to it. There's lots of facets to it. So I do like this game. Would I pay 20 quid for it? I'm not sure. If it's something that really appeals to you, then go for it. But I'd pick it up on a discount if you can do. Like I said, it's on all the platforms. Currently between £16 and £18. That's 16 and maybe $20 if you live in America, or euros. It's currently on a Steam sale which ends in 4 days time on the 19th, and it's £3 on Steam right now. So I would definitely pick it up for £3 if you're interested. Like I said, I paid £1.79 on the Switch, but I don't mean to brag. And there you go.
My big question, that is Dex. And I feel like it's a kind of an elephant in the room, is, well, perhaps I should word this differently, but the first thing I was going to say was, is it a better game than Cyberpunk 2077? Or scratch that, I will reword it to be a bit more forgiving, because they are fundamentally different types of game. Did you enjoy it more than you enjoyed Cyberpunk 2077?
I haven't played it. I mean, I played Cyberpunk for like, what, 8 hours? I've got 8 hours in Cyberpunk at the moment, and I did enjoy it for what it was. I mean, performance-wise, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Cyberpunk more for being immersed in the world, and you know, there's lots of good points. Obviously, the 2D versus the 3D thing. Obviously, Cyberpunk wins on a lot of the technical points, but when it comes to performance and enjoyability, I don't know. I wouldn't want to say that I enjoyed Dex more, but I did enjoy Dex, and I enjoyed Cyberpunk to an extent too. It's all about what you want from it. I know this is a politician's answer.
Indeed.
But I'm going to say that I appreciate Dex more for the fact that I feel like I only paid less than £2 for it, and I didn't feel like they were trying to pull the wool over when I bought it. So let's leave it at that.
Thank you for your input, John Hancock, or what? No, is that the guy's name? Is who I'm thinking of? I mean, most
generic
of our
politician
audience won't actually know who it is. Matt Hancock, I think that's the guy.
Matt Hancock, there you go.
Current something or other of. Anyway, I'm not going to waste my time on that. Let's just move on to Call of Duty cheaters and laugh at those pricks. Like I said, it's just a semi-regular thing. If there's a cheating story where people are getting caught, then I'm going to talk about it and we're going to laugh at them because they're pathetic and they deserve it. So this is a new one for Call of Duty across Warzone and the other Call of Duties, I guess, because they're all, well, most of them are still active, but obviously no one plays any of them apart from the newest one, which is Cold War, Black Ops Cold War. So Call of Duty is a hotbed of cheaters, always has been, and probably always will be, but it actually seems like Activision are doing something about it. I mean, they could be doing more, in my eyes. I always think they could be doing more. I think cheating should be a zero-tolerance policy, but we'll get to that. So in a blog post from April the 12th, which was on Monday, currently it's Thursday when we're recording, they said, cheaters are never welcome. To date, our security and enforcement team has issued more than 475,000 permabans in Call of Duty Warzone. Yesterday's large ban wave was our 7th high-volume set of bans since February. In addition, our security and enforcement teams also issue bans daily, 7 days a week, to individual offences or repeat offenders. The combination of daily bans plus large-scale ban waves are an integral focus of our efforts. We are also tackling the commercial market of cheat providers and resellers. This includes suspicious accounts which are farmed and often sold to repeat offenders. We recently banned 45,000 fraudulent black market accounts used by repeat offenders. Removing cheaters and taking away their ability to move to alternate accounts is a key focus for the security teams. So it's Activision can't write anything without it sounding corporate and ridiculous. Like, this is a key focus for our security teams. But I like when I hear security and enforcement team, I'm picturing like big guys in like black body armor with balaclavas and goggles and masks. But obviously it's cheaters, so it's digital. So I mean that just doesn't make sense. So what I'm imagining in my stupid brain is these big, tactical spec ops geezers hunched over their computers doing all the nerdy techie stuff that goes way over my head. Anyway, they're also upgrading the security for it's not really upgrading security, so to speak. It's more adding additional pains in the arse for cheaters. None of this will actually really stop it, but it's just going to make things a little bit more difficult. Utilizing two-factor authentication to make it harder to access new accounts simply to cheat, ramping up additional resources to support our security and enforcement teams, increasing frequency of high-volume ban waves in addition to our daily banning of repeat offending accounts, improving regular communications and updates. And they also put out along with this blog post, they linked to a report which they've collated based on their research, which basically says this is how some people are trying to do cheats. Be aware that this is kind of like a scam, but to get you into cheating type kind of thing, to hook you onto that. Now, the reason I'm kind of talking about this a lot on top of, screw you cheaters, for nearly 500,000 of you just got banned basically in one go, which is hugely impressive. Are they taking it seriously enough? It's always my kind of question. Hardware bans are a thing that happen, but for this case, they even say that it only applies to repeat or serial cheaters. So the quote is, some have asked if we issue hardware bans. We do issue hardware bans against repeat or serial cheaters. This is an important part of our effort to combat repeat offenders. This is an important part of our focus, or whatever they said before. As far as I'm concerned, if you're cheating, you should be hardware banned instantly. Like, maybe that's harsh. Yeah. Maybe that's a bit far. Because some people will, kind of accidentally or harmlessly end up doing it.
Naively.
Maybe they're a bit more innocent. I don't really believe that is the case, but maybe to be a bit of a devil's advocate. But I think if you're cheating in the game, you should be hardware banned instantly. That way you can't play the game on this system. You have to go out and buy a new PlayStation or a new Xbox or a new PC or whatever. That's what I think they should do. But they're never going to do it because cheaters may be cheating, but they're also playing the game, bumping the numbers up, and chances are maybe even buying some microtransactions while they're at it. The only time cheaters become a problem is when for these companies anyway. For us, they're always a problem. But the only time cheaters become a problem for the Activision, the game owner, the game creator, is if those cheaters then push away regular players who are also buying microtransactions. That's all that really matters at the end of the day. So they're not going to outright ban anyone unless they actually believe that that's what's going to happen. They're going to keep them there. Like, you may be cheating, but you're still paying to play our game, so you can stay.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think the only time that it becomes a problem for them is when the community starts reacting to the fact that the cheaters are there, and whether that manifests in raising a stink on social media, whether that's an article in a news outlet, or whether that's people just straight up leaving the game, and they don't want that. However, like you said, they quite happily have the cheaters there playing, racking up play time and buying microtransactions or whatever. If they didn't have a negative effect on everybody else, they just put them in their own cheater server. I think, didn't Overwatch do that, where they just like all the cheaters have played together?
So that's a great way to do it, because I mean, if anything, that's a win-win for everyone, because they can keep them in the ecosystem and just stuff them all in one place. And I would love to watch that game though. Just put them all in there and let's see what happens. I've talked about it before. I'm certain we've spoken about it on this channel. I think there should be the Olympics and then like an advanced Olympics where you specifically go to try out performance enhancing stuff to see how far you can push people with give them like robot legs and jet boots and stuff. Do it here. Yeah. Have your Call of Duty esports league or whatever where they do it all properly, legitimately. Then have a separate one to see how much they can push the tech and cheat people like shooting through walls. Everyone has the same base game, but then they can cheat it and mod it in the ways they like. I think that would be a really entertaining way to do it. It would probably dissolve into chaos and the game would just outright crash, but it would be funny, and they're cheaters, so fuck them.
Fuck them. Yeah, I mean, there is the point that sometimes people get misdiagnosed, like I say, or misaccused of cheaters, of being cheaters. And I think your zero tolerance policy would kind of piss a lot of people off. I mean, I know that there's always the people who are saying, well, I didn't cheat, or that you see them on Reddit or whatever, I didn't cheat, I got banned, and they're always complaining. I never know what to think. Maybe they are being honest and genuine, and they get mischaracterized as a cheater, or get misdiagnosed and just banned for not cheating in the first place. I kind of believe that could happen, because I've been banned off a website, PokerStars, right? I used to play poker all the time. I can't get access to my account anymore. I think it was hacked at one point, my account. Honestly, I'm not bullshitting, guys. I'm honest. I didn't cheat. I didn't hack. I didn't game assistant. No, but true. Honestly, true. I think my account was hacked. I got it back, but then I just can't get onto PokerStars anymore. And that's the type of thing that can happen. Is that accounts can be hacked. People can use cheats with them. You can see that this is a system that cheaters could get away with. All you got to do is hack someone else's account, cheat with their account, then you don't risk your own account being banned. Then that can happen, and then innocent people their lives can be ruined. Let's be honest. I mean, not being able to play PokerStars anymore, my life isn't worth living. So, just another.
I mean,
if you got, I mean, I know you got a zero tolerance policy, Henry, but how do you get around that? Tell me that, Henry.
I mean, you can always unban people. That's a thing that can happen. You can
Have you got the resources to review everyone's case who appeals though?
Well, not.
Have you got the resources there?
Well, not everyone, but if they're
come on, Activision.
Well, but they're I don't. But yeah, Activision are an enormous company.
Henry Activision Cooper. Now you're acting on behalf of Activision. What would you do in that situation?
Well, for starters, I'd set all of my developers free that I hold hostage and let them go and do their own things. Treyarch, is that one? Does that one still exist? Sledgehammer, all them. Go make a good shooter that isn't just the same damn thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. But no, realistically, yeah. I mean, you can have people appeal. You can ask, try to verify it. But I mean, if they're cheating, sometimes it's so obvious. Sometimes it's not so obvious. But the obvious ones, you've just got to get rid of them. Especially because a lot of them will be like kids. They're like, I just want to win the game. I just want to be better than my friends. I'll buy this cheat or whatever. A lot of them run on subscription, so I'll get that for a month. They're not going to be very good at hiding it. Just get rid of them. Sack them. I don't care if you're a child. I don't care if you're an 8-year-old man. If you're a cheater. I mean, I'm not playing Call of Duty anytime soon. This stuff does not affect me in the slightest. But just get rid of them. Get them gone. Linking back to my Outriders rant, it's what I was sitting there seething at how annoying this connectivity issue was, and I was like, I hate online games. This is why I play single player. This is why I sit alone in my room or on the sofa or whatever, in front of the TV, playing games. I don't need to be connected online all the time. It's more problems than it's worth, at least in my opinion. But if we didn't have all of these cheaters, life would be much better. I had a really bad experience with cheaters the other day. Well, not the other day, maybe like last month. I was playing Battlefront 2 on Epic Game Store because it was free. Oh, Epic Game Store. Yeah, whatever. It was free. What am I going to do? Not play it? And it was probably my first experience with cheaters on PC. And I was like, why can't I hit this guy? I'm shooting him. I'm grenading him. But nothing was happening, and he's nailing me in one shot. And then towards the end, because the phase of the battle changed, and we went up to the ship, and there was a blast door, and he was like on the other side of it, still shooting us. There were like 3 of us trying to be like, there's a guy there, but like we tried shooting him, nothing was happening. But his blasts were coming through to us. We some of us died, and we're like, all right, well, I guess we're not going down there again. We'll keep going. Eventually, we lost, and that guy had more kills than everyone else. I think he did have like 2 deaths, so something was stopping him. He's not a total god. But then all in the chat was just like report. Even on his own team, we're just like, yeah, get rid of them. So I was like, they're everywhere. You can't escape them. So get fucking rid of them. Murder their dogs in front of them, but don't really, just like pretend to, and then bring the dogs to like a safe place and we'll keep them.
Don't kill the dogs.
No, don't really. We'll just play the mind games with them, corrupt them, and then send them on their merry way.
I'm with you in spirit, Henry. I mean, you've been pulling no punches this podcast so far.
It's very hot in here. I'm getting literally hot-headed.
I wouldn't go so far as pulling anybody's dogs or puppies into it, because you've got to be some level of cruel to bring in that type of punishment for what is essentially just cheating in a video game.
If they cheat in a video game, just imagine what kind of prick they are in the real world. Something so meaningless. Something so like, what do you gain by cheating in the video game? Nothing. If anything, you actually lose something because you're spending all this money on it. But imagine what kind of a bastard they are when they can actually gain something.
It's like to me, it's like people who drive around with like really big exhausts or something, like or you know what I mean? They're trying to compensate for something. It's the people who are like 4'5" tall who think that they need to go around being more powerful. It's like the Napoleon complex or whatever it is, even though Napoleon wasn't as small as people say he was. But it's like they're compensating for. You've got small cocks essentially, haven't they? They're going around buying up these cheats to make out that they're actually proper men, and they're not.
If you've got a small penis, I'm sure there is a nice young lady out there, or young man, whatever you like, who's that. They like that sort of thing. So just accept what you got and stop ruining everyone else's fun. Yeah,
basically, if you're a cheater, you've got a micro penis, so deal with it.
And that's going on the headline.
Let's move on to Henry's other section. Rings of Saturn reinvents demos. A game has reinvented demos. Stop the press, Henry.
I mean,
tell me all about it.
This is a game I've never heard of until now, and I'm now significantly more interested in it. Technically, it's not just called Rings of Saturn. That little symbol that I've got written in the thing, I had to Google it. Like, do I say AV? That? Does it say anything? I think it's Delta V. So I don't know anything else. Delta V, Rings of Saturn, I believe. Anyway, it's a top-down sci-fi space sim that released in August in 2019, developed by Codera Software. Developed and published, rather. It's still quite indie, quite small scale. Very, very positive reviews on Steam. Currently sits in early access at $7.19. Sounds cool. Lots of space sims out there. A lot of them are quite good. Very, technical and a lot of, stuff to think about. A lot of brain work. But what makes this interesting is that they've just launched a demo, which is, demo after the fact. The game's already, it's in early access, not really out, but late demos don't happen all that often, so already that's kind of a thing. But what makes this demo interesting, and I think it's such a good damn idea, it's brilliant. There is no time limit, there is no level limit, you can go as far as you like, there's basically no limits at all. You get the whole game, you download it, you have the entire game to play through, all the way through, all the resources, all the systems, you can go to all the planets, you can do everything. The only catch is, you can't load. You can save, but you can't load. So you can go as far as you can, venture out across the solar system, explore all of the rings of Saturn, do whatever you need to do. But if you want to save, you can do that, and then maybe come back another day, jump back in. You can't. That's the only limit, and I think it's absolutely genius. Technically, you could play this as like the most hardcore roguelike ever. You just have to keep going, and you will... I don't know how dying works. I don't know if you reload the save, if that's something that works. Like maybe if you die in the demo, you can't load it. I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe it is, but it is still... That actually sounds really interesting. The most hardcore roguelike space sim ever. And you can just play all of it. That's the extent of this story. I just think it's really, really cool. You can play the entire game as long as you can do it in one sitting. It doesn't...
I think that...
This wouldn't work with every game. This wouldn't work with every game, which is obviously obvious. It's just obvious. It's obviously obvious. Because this game...
Sorry to interject. I mean, I know I'm cutting across you here, but it works. So on this game, I'm looking at the trailer here, but it works because it's a sim and it looks so in depth.
Yes.
I know it's a top-down type of game. It reminds me of what's that bloody Sunken City or Sunken Sky, whatever it is.
Sunless Skies.
Sunless Skies. That's it. It reminds me of that in terms of how the physics of it work.
It does look a lot like that.
But there's a lot more to it. Like there's loads of depth in terms of on your screen. There's just like 5 or 6 different HUD overlays, and there's just it looks like a game with so much depth. And like you said, it probably wouldn't work for every game because if your game is paper thin,
very true.
Yeah, you probably haven't got a lot to learn or a lot to know or a lot to play. It's just like one and done. Whereas this is a type of game where you probably haven't played it all the way, even if you've played it all the way through, you probably haven't played the whole game.
Yeah, especially for a game like like a 6-hour experience. That's doable in one sitting. I mean, not many people have 6 hours to just drop all in one go on one thing, but it is possible. It can be done. Whereas a game like this, it's very, very systems heavy. It's a lot of sounds a bit reductive, but like spreadsheets, numbers in charts and tables you got to work through, and for a certain type of game. Yeah, exactly. It's
all the best space sims.
Exactly.
They're all based on spreadsheets.
Yeah, it's a lot of specific detail and number crunching. The one other thing that I think works really well for this is that, according to Steam anyway, the download, the amount of storage you need is half a gig. You really don't need any space to be able to do it, which is why, for a game like, let's say, Red Dead's install at the moment is like 120 gigs, and that's outside of any of the launcher or any other extraneous stuff. It's something insane. If you download that game, that's going to take a long time to just play a demo to maybe see if you maybe like it. But I think in this case, it's a brilliant idea. And once you die, or once you quit out and come back in, you can still play it again. The demo's not going anywhere. It's not like it is just a one-time thing. Yeah. You can play for as long as you can, and then you're done. And I think this kind of might end up getting a bit of a following as this sort of roguelike type thing. Like, just keep rinsing the demo, go as far as you can, or as far as your body can bear, or your system can bear, and then start over or something. I just think it's genius. I think this is really, really smart.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And it's kind of like we were coming back to a conversation where we were talking last week about playing free games and feeling like you owe you owe them something if you get so much of an experience and haven't actually paid anything. I think they are hoping for that type of response from a community where they're given a full game essentially, and all they have, in order to support them, instead of just recurring microtransactions and trying to fleece people with recurrent consumer spending or whatever. It's just a £7.19 for the whole thing, so you can load the game that you saved.
Exactly, because you can keep saving throughout in the demo. You just can't load it again. So if you get really, really far and you're like, I need to go to bed, but I want to pick up where I left off, you can buy it and then just pick up that save and keep going when you jump in next.
That type of consumer-focused mentality will win a lot of favour, and I think win a lot of fans at the same time, and a lot of people will go to bat for it, and rightfully so for a company that, or a developer that wants to look out for you like that. They'll essentially give you this free game, which is really in depth and give you a great experience. And if you want to support them, you get the little added bonus of getting able to reload your games. How many people out there play their games and just pause it, leave the computer and come back later, or leave it computer and come back overnight?
Yeah.
You can do that. You could easily leave your game on for a few days and play this game over a few days, not have to load it or save it or whatever, and you could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't. You can see a lot of people experiencing that way. So yeah, I think this is great. I think more games should do it, and it's a testament to how deep their game is and how confident they are that if people get hands on their game, that people will enjoy it and support them out of the fact that they feel like they're doing a good deed, so they're going to do them. £7.19, less than £8 worth of game there.
Yeah. That's the confidence you mentioned there. That's exactly it. They're not trying to cut any corners. They're not trying to hide anything. They're like, our game is awesome. We just want more people to play it. So here you go. One catch you can't load in, but if you like it that much, it's only this much to play it for real. It's still in early access, so it's gonna, every early access game has a few teething problems. I've not actually played it myself, so I can't speak to any of that. But they're confident enough in their game and its systems and being a solid experience. So they're just giving it all to you. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. And
they're confident in the depth as well. Yeah. You think about this policy on Steam right now is you buy a game, any game you want, 2 hours. Within 2 hours, if you don't like it, you can get refunded, or if it doesn't perform well or whatever. 2 hours is not enough to experience the full depth of a game. What they're saying essentially here, who are the developers? Codera Software. They're basically saying, the more that you play this, the more that you will like it, the more that you'll be willing to support us. That's what they're saying. Our game is so deep, our game is so enjoyable, the more that you play it, that we're confident in giving it you unlimited access to this game. We're confident that you will still love it enough to buy it afterwards, which speaks more than anything, I think. It's the ultimate confidence, isn't it?
Exactly. I just think this is great. And after ranting about Outriders, which did get a demo, and its demo was solid as a reasonably it's a good amount of content for a demo. And then we support demos around here, and then having this come out and just completely reinvent the wheel in terms of demos. Like I said, it won't work for every game. Not every game can do this for various reasons. The file size or the game itself is just too thin. You can just play through the whole demo and complete it. But I think this is awesome, and I'd love to see more games trying to pick it up, especially because roguelike games are really booming right now, or harder games are becoming popular again. So if your game is really hard, perfect. Just play until you die, and then that's it. You're never going to get to the very end without dying. Well, some people will, but then maybe they've earned it. Maybe they should get a reward if they complete the demo without dying. I don't know. Yeah. I just think this is cool, man.
There you go, Delta V Rings of Saturn. I will definitely go over and install it. It's my indie space sim game. Lots of words that I like there. Yeah. I'm going to go and try it, and I think that those of you who are interested in those words as well, go and try it. Delta V Rings of Saturn. So it's like the little triangle. I don't know if you even got one out on your keyboard. That's probably a bit of an oversight
copy and paste
there,
it in.
bit of an oversight by the developers. How do you search for the Delta? They haven't got a Delta key on my bloody keyboard, but there you go. Delta V Rings of Saturn. And that kind of sums up our segments. We did it in just under an hour, so we're all right. Let's move on to the next segment, which is the community section. This podcast is sponsored by you guys on Patreon and on YouTube's memberships. So for those of you who do enjoy our content and want to see us flourish and continue to produce this content, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming or hit the join button on the main channel on YouTube. We haven't got it on the podcast channel currently, but either way, you will get early access to this podcast by a couple of days. You get to ask us questions for the podcast and get access to the Discord, or the private section of the Discord, the members only area in the Discord, let's say. We've had 5 increased or new pledges this week. Firstly, by Zachary Gianotti, $5 per month pledged by you. I appreciate that, dude. Mattis Meyer has pledged $5 per month as well. Thank you very much, dude. Jan Shebal has increased from $10 to $15. Jan, thank you very much, dude. Appreciate that. And then we had a $1 per month pledged by Graham Wells. Every single dollar counts. If everyone who appreciated our content pledged just $1 a month, we wouldn't have to ask anybody anymore. We wouldn't have to worry about not getting enough views on YouTube. We wouldn't have to worry about demonetization and all the other problems that come with being YouTuber creators. We would appreciate every single one of you. So like I said, if you are minded to keep us going and help us out, head over to Patreon, and we really appreciate it. And thanks everybody for your pledges this month or this week. Let's move on to the first section of the community, which is the Metalshark quiz of the week. And I think it's me up this time. I'm in the hot seat, right?
This time. Yeah. So this is from Metalshark. He did a bunch of quizzes for us and took a little break, much deserved. You put a lot of effort into these, and now he's back for Series 2, I guess, of the Metalshark quiz. I feel like we need a new theme tune for this. This week we have the first industry bullshit quiz for Gaz, a self-imposed challenge of a quiz with no lifelines and increasing difficulty with each question. How very exciting. Are you on the edge of your seat? I hope you are.
Yeah.
Okay, question 1.
Bullshit. Let's do it.
Which famous phrase of EA's features in the most downvoted comment on Reddit? Pride and accomplishment, just cosmetic, player choice, working as intended.
It's got to be that feeling of pride and accomplishment, isn't it?
I mean, that's the correct answer. That's the correct answer. But realistically, they're all going to be in there. All of those statements are in there, so it's a very good list there. Yeah. All right, 1 out of 1. Which consoles promised to support all peripherals available on the last console generation, yet didn't support a peripheral which came bundled with the previous console? Xbox Series, PlayStation 2, Sega Mega Drive 2, and Game Boy Color, correctly inserted with the U there. Thank you very much. So Xbox Series X/S, I guess, PlayStation 2, Sega Mega Drive 2, or the Game Boy Color.
So the console that came with peripherals bundled was the Xbox Series X or whatever, because it came with the Kinect, right? I don't think did the other. I can't think of another console that came with peripherals bundled in. So I'm going to say Xbox because of the Kinect.
You are correct. Xbox Series with its lack of Kinect support. I mean, I don't think that many people are too annoyed about that. No one really liked the Kinect, but I'm sure there's probably one person who's like, what the shit? I mean, it's still shit. They should still support all of it.
Absolutely.
But who cares that much? All right, 2 out of 2. Which game increased the pre-order incentive the more the game got pre-ordered? Battlefield 4, Warcraft 3 Remastered, The Division 2, or Deus Ex Mankind Divided?
I believe you could augment your pre-order with Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and it was the type of bullshit that I think we rallied against at the time, or at least we've highlighted how fucking shit it was afterwards. And that is the correct answer. Deus Ex.
You are 100% right. Deus Ex, augment your pre-order is the correct answer. All right, that's 3 out of 3. Which game had cheat codes as a pre-order incentive? Far Cry 4, Rage 2, 2 Point Hospital, or Goddess? I'm going to say Goddess.
Yeah, Goddess. I think Far Cry did not. 2 Point Hospital did not. Rage 2. Did Rage 2? I think maybe Rage 2 did.
Is that your final answer?
I didn't know about I don't know about Godus. I think it's more of an indie thing. Was that Rage 2, I'm going to say.
I would have gone for Rage 2 as well, and that is the correct answer. Rage 2 came with cheat codes as a pre-order bonus. All right, that's 4 out of 4. You're doing very well.
Doing all right. We do get the more difficult stuff.
Which company devised, in inverted commas, Project $10 to discourage second-hand sales with per-account activation codes locking out online play? Activision, Codemasters, EA, or Ubisoft? They are all solid contenders for pulling a move like that.
Which company devised Project $10 to discourage second-hand sales with per-account activation codes? Per-account activation codes. I would say that's a shitty Activision move.
Yeah, you reckon?
I would say that's my...
I don't know what the answer is. I'm just kind of teasing out.
I would say Activision. I'm going to go with Activision.
If you're going with
Activision... It's either them or EA, so it's Activision.
Yeah, you should have gone with your second choice. It's EA.
Shit.
I would have said EA personally, only because when I was playing Mass Effect 2 last year on the Xbox, it has content you can't access unless you have like the online stuff, and I know it's called like Cerberus or something, and it's a bit bullshit. Anyway, that is 4 out of 5. Cool. In what year did Microsoft first propose microtransactions to publishers, a $5 or lower amount which was meant to be covered by points instead of actual money due to transaction fees? 1995, 2000, 2005, or 2010? So when did Microsoft first propose microtransactions?
Propose microtransactions? Oh, I guess it could be... I was thinking 2005, but then... That's kind of the evolution. I mean, it'd be about the right time in terms of online functionality in games around 2005. But proposing it, there might have been as far back as 2000. With the fact that 1995 is in there, I don't know. I'm trying to get inside Metalshark's head now. The fact that he's given these options. It's probably 95. Knowing Metalshark.
Yeah, they tried it back then.
Why
but
would he
there
go
was
so
no way
far
it was
back?
work.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm
inclined to say 2005. Yeah, it's a terrific. I'm inclined to say 2005, and then the psychology of the question makes me think 2000, or the terminology of the question makes me think 2000. But getting inside Metalshark's head, I think it might be 1995, and it's no way to.
Either way, it's a shot in the dark, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2000.
Unfortunately, it is only 2005.
Oh, fuck. I was
overthinking.
I should have gone with the first answer, man. I shouldn't have overthought it. Yeah. I'm thinking too much.
Oh dear. So that is 4 out of 6. Come on, it's only going to get harder from here. All right, number 7. A 2018 report by QT determined what percentage of gamers found cosmetic microtransactions acceptable. Right, no matter what the answer is, they are wrong.
It should be 0.
All right, how many people think cosmetic microtransactions are acceptable? 4.20%, 420, 25%, 69%, nice, or 90%?
I think it should be 0, but that option isn't there. And it can't be 4.2%. It cannot be, because so 25% would be my inclination. But obviously I'm pretty biased in the fact that I hate microtransactions.
Yeah, we hope people are better than that.
My rationale here is that it's a 2018 report by QT. And who were they, because if they asked members of YouTube or viewers or our viewers or whatever, you'd get a really low number. You'd get like 10%, whatever. However, depending on who they asked, if they asked like just regular gamers public, who weren't hardcore gamers, it's going to be higher than 25%. It has to be. It won't be as high as 90. I'm going to go on that rationale for the 69%, dude.
If that's your final answer, you would be correct. 69, nice. I would have said I was leaning on 25 again, kind of wishful thinking. But then think about it, you've got two sort of silly answers there because you've got 420 and 69. Yeah. So chances are one of those is the legitimate one, as we've discussed before. So that is 5 out of 7? 5 out of 7, I think.
5 out of 7.
All right, number 8. What was the first game to sell, not launch, sell a season pass providing access to planned content? A. Mortal Kombat 9, B. Far Cry 2, C. LA Noire, or D. Mafia 2?
I think this was LA Noire because it's Rockstar, and because, if I remember correctly, because of how the game is, different chapters in terms of the investigations and that, LA Noire would be one. There's something in the back of my head that's telling me it's LA Noire.
LA Noire was going to be the one I would have gone with, and we would have both been correct. Bingo. Boom. So that is 6 out of 8. 6 from 8. Number 9. Excuse me. What was the first game to launch which had a season pass providing... So which was the first game to launch with a season pass? The last one was sell. This is one that would launch. Same list. Oh, wait, no, not quite. Actually, the answer is removed from last one. So this is Mortal Kombat 9, Far Cry 2, Red Dead Redemption, or Mafia 2.
What was the first game to launch which had a season pass providing access to planned content?
So Mortal Kombat 9, Far Cry 2, Red Dead Redemption, or Mafia 2?
Is it Mortal Kombat? I don't think it's Mafia 2, right? Red Dead Redemption, I can't remember. Far Cry 2 or Mortal Kombat?
I think Red Dead did have one, I'm pretty sure. But
Season
I think it was a little bit later than the other ones. But I might be lying.
I'm... Far Cry 2. Mortal Kombat. It's got to be Mortal Kombat. Right?
You are right, it is Mortal Kombat 9. Good
Get
job.
in there.
I think it kind of makes sense for a fighting game as well, because you can be like, it's a new character every couple of months or whatever. Okay, so that is 7 from 9. Last question. Come on. What was a catch-up-on ticket in the Japanese version of MapleStory, the first paid example of in video game? So a catch-up-on ticket in the Japanese version of MapleStory was the first example of what in the video game industry? A loot box, experience boost, fast travel token, or one-time access to an area? A catch-up-on ticket. I've never heard of MapleStory or a catch-up-on ticket.
The first paid example of...
Is it a loot box, an experience booster, fast travel token, or one-time access to an area?
I'm going to say one-time access to... Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Well, I'm looking at the anti-cheat. I'm double thinking it. I'm looking at how many... because his anti-cheat is the same, copied and pasted. So I'm gaming the system here. His anti-cheat code isn't long enough to include one-time access to an area and then the anti-cheat code. So it has to be a loot box. It has to be a loot box because that's the only one that's small enough to include loot box and then anti-cheat. 1 2 3 2 4 2 3 4 2 3 4 2 5 3 5. That's the only one that fits.
Well, it looks like your anti-cheat is failing you because loot box is the answer. And speaking of anti-cheat, that was another problem I had with Outriders because it decided to block me launching the game because of the pretty colours in my computer. And it took freaking ages to get it to cooperate again. But we've put that conversation away. I might have to, if I make that a segment, I'm just going to have to pluck these little tidbits and put them in or something. Anyway, so
I technically just cheated on that last answer because I circumvented the anti-cheat. So does that mean I should be banned forever, Henry, by your own standards?
Yeah, you're gone. Cut from the channel. Metalshark's the new.
I got 8 out of 10. I don't care.
You're still a winner. All right, well done. 8 out of 10. I think you did better than me. I think I got like 6 last time. I didn't do very well at all. So,
well, you didn't have, in your defence, you didn't have multiple choice, did you? It was just.
Oh yes, I just had to guess where the quote came from. But
there you go. Thanks, Metalshark, for the quiz. Appreciate that. I don't mind taking the 8 out of 10 there. I thought I'd do pretty well on a industry bullshit one. So basically, he's saying here at the end, thanks guys for the support and throwing down the gauntlet for a challenge in a chosen topic. So Henry, will you be brave enough to choose a chosen topic for next week's one? So
are you choosing the topic? Or am I just...
No, last week I chose industry bullshit this week.
Oh, I see.
I suggested it, so it's up to you.
I've got to think of one on the spot here. Yeah, I'll ding Metalshark with an idea if I can think of one, and if I don't, then you'll just have to get even more creative than you already have been. Although we are burning through a lot of topics already, a lot of genres.
Anyone else has any suggestions for Henry's chosen topic, leave them in the comments, and let's move on to Cloney99's question for this week's podcast. And it goes as follows. I think I found a game we can play together. Was Eric drunk or a kid? From How I Met Your Mother. The rules are simple. A viewer sends in a story that happened to them relating to gaming to the channel. Sends in a story that happened to them to the channel relating to gaming. You read it out and decide if the viewer was drunk or still a child when that happened. Maybe we need to broaden the criteria a bit. What do you think? I think it's a cast iron, platinum gold idea. So we definitely run with this. So basically, if people can kind of submit to us their stories, whether it happened to them, whether they were drunk or still a child, we would appreciate it. And he carries on. It could look like this. Once I clicked an ad for Who's Gonna Be a Millionaire and received a bill and a warning for over €45 just for playing one or two questions.
Well, I think you should know if it's a scam, if it's Who's Gonna Be a Millionaire, not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I mean, that's quite clearly some bullshit going on there. So I guess the question is, was he drunk when he clicked this ad and was asked to pay €45, or was he a kid and just made an innocent, harmless, naive mistake?
Is this actually a question? It was with an answer to. Oh yeah, there you go. So it's just structured weirdly, right? So, have you seen the answer for this?
No, I've not looked at the answer yet.
Okay, so we've got to decide whether he was drunk or he was still a child when he clicked.
I believe you've got to be a kid, right? To click on one of these things. I mean, sometimes I click on the ads just for fun to see what sort of bullshit comes up, and you cross your fingers you won't get infected with something nasty. But sometimes you got to take the risk. I don't believe when I'm drunk I'm that interested in scrolling my phone or computer. I'm not in an environment where I'm gonna be exposed to ads like this. At least I don't really think so. Normally, if I'm drunk, I'm busy being drunk, So I reckon you're a kid.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, there was no such ads on the internet because we didn't even have bloody internet when I was a kid. How old are you, Cloney? That's the question. Yeah, I'm gonna go with drunk because I think I'm gonna go with drunk. Henry says kid, I say drunk, right?
And the answer is obviously I was a kid. I don't drink. I might need the help of viewership to keep this going. My mum actually had to dispute the thing because I was still underage, but the punishment was harsh. She still doesn't fully trust any ad that pops up, even from the antivirus, to not cost anything. She still asks me all the time, do I have to pay for this now? Yeah, your mum sounds a lot like my mum, but while you actually got charged for it, you must have gone a little further than just clicking the ad. You must have, done a little sign up or something if they can actually bill you and pester you for it. Damn. Yeah, you're definitely a kid. I wouldn't have the presence of mind if I was drunk to actually type in my email address correctly or whatever. Then there is this follow-up part. It's kind of a separate thing if you want to take on.
Yeah, sure, you go ahead and read that.
I've recently gotten back into Hearthstone, and let me tell you, it's disgustingly over-monetized now. But whatever, you can play the actual game for free if you survive the FOMO. However, something occurred to me while swapping between starting up League of Legends and starting up Hearthstone. What if the company/game treats you unfairly? All you can do to punish a company that ruined a game you like is stop paying them entirely. But the fun actively you spent on your days on
activity.
The thing that you like so much is gone for good. What other ways do we have to get a bit of satisfying revenge on Big Corpo? What ways do you use to get back at the man when a game you enjoy is ruined? I guess this mostly applies to ongoing experiences like MMORPGs and other stuff, but I can see them ruining a game series too, like many people felt at the end of Mass Effect 3. So how do we punish a game company for ruining a game without necessarily just stop paying for it and stop buying them?
I think the best way is social mobilization, right? You go to Reddit and you post your story, you get other people with similar stories to back you up and feel the same, and then you decide, well, I mean, if the story gets enough traction and enough people pay attention, you'll get in the news, and then YouTubers will pick it up, and then the company itself might be impacted by the negative story. I mean, obviously, we've got power in order. We can just make a video. I mean, we're in this position where we're on YouTube. We can just make a video about the bullshit thing that this company did to us. So we're in this privileged position, but you need to get attention by people who do have the platform, I think, and that's the one way that you can impact them is by getting your story heard. And if it's a legitimate enough one, and enough people are thinking the same things, and you're feeling the same emotions as you feeling like they've been ripped off, then it will get noticed.
Yep, that's it. And obviously, stop paying them is the best way, because that way they're not getting any money from you. And then if you factor that in with your social mobility angle, more people will stop paying, and together your £5 a month subscription adds up to a lot more. But I don't really think I've had that much experience with it, because I generally don't play ongoing service experiences or MMORPGs or anything like that. And in terms of game series being ruined, I don't feel like I've been like that burnt by it, if that makes sense. I can't think of one off the top of my head, was what I mean. Like a game series, I liked it, and then one came out and it was so bad that I couldn't go back and do another one. And to the point where I'd actually want to punish them for it, and not just not buy it. I don't think I've been that riled up.
It's funny, because going back to the question, Hearthstone is my most played game of all time, and this is weird, right? Because I don't consider it a game that I play actively. I just do it passively, if that makes sense. So I play Hearthstone Battlegrounds mostly every day. I play it when I'm eating my lunch or whatever, just for like half an hour. One round of Hearthstone Battlegrounds will last maximum half an hour. I play it when I'm exercising and I'm on the running machine. I literally have it in front of me and I'm running. It occupies my brain. It takes away the fact... it distracts me from the pain that my body is feeling on the running machine. And it serves a purpose for me. And since I've been playing it, I play it on holiday, whatever, and relaxing on the beach just to distract me, or I'm on a plane, or I can't actually play it on a plane because there's no internet connection. But I play it more often than the game, and I don't consider it a particularly good game. I only play it for that one specific game type, and I wouldn't recommend it to other people. But it's weird, that, isn't it? I just play it. I have never spent a penny on it either. I know they over monetized it now, and I get that because you can see that when I'm logging in, just the main bulk of the game, and also on Battlegrounds as well. But there is this like progression thing in the background now. So you get milestones, and you get like coins, which are in-game currency, which you can unlock things with eventually. So every season, it refreshes, and then you get a lot of coins, and you can buy like a battle pass or whatever it is, which is usually like 16 quid. But if you've got like 2,000 coins, you can get it for free. So that kind of works well for me, because I've never paid for anything in Hearthstone, and only ever used the currency that they've given me for free. So I see what you're saying, though. Just a bit of a side tangent there about Hearthstone. But there you go. Thanks for the questions, Cloney99. Let's move on to Ravage3D, or Ravaged. And his question goes as follows. Hi guys, I've been playing a lot of games with some great paid DLC lately. Dishonored, Alan Wake, Immortals, Phoenix Rising, Mortal Kombat Aftermath, Shadow of War, and Shadow of War. What I really like with these examples is how different they make the game feel, or twist the story around on its head. Now, I know some people just think these are chopped off bits of games, but working in the industry, I can say that more times than not, these are ideas that came late in the day. They also help teams stay together while waiting for the project to release, to find out if they can move on to the next project or fix a ton of bugs. Also helps the profits of games, but then we all know that going in. These are also not new. The first example I can remember is Hero Quest and Space Crusade on my Atari ST Amiga 500. Although not downloadable, you could still pay to expand the game, just like the board games they were based on. So question 1 is, are there any games you have played with great DLC that added to your enjoyment of the game?
The first one that comes to my head is, it's not technically a DLC because I think they sold it as a standalone, but Far Cry 3 was a decent game in its own right, and then they did Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which was completely random, out of the blue. It uses the same map, but completely reskins it. It's got its own story, it's completely self-contained, and it's a huge 80s nostalgia trip. The main character is called like Rex Power Cult or something. He's got a robot arm. He's voiced by Michael Biehn, who you'll know from Terminator and Aliens. He's Hicks in Aliens and Kyle Reese in Terminator. Kind of, bit 80s icon. Everything he says is like some stupid catchphrase or one-liner. It has the best tutorial I've ever played because it's massively self-aware, and the whole time it's structured as like his like robot parts and stuff have malfunctioned, so he's got to learn to use them again. He's complaining the whole time. He's like, I know how to fucking jump or whatever. It's great, and it's awesome, but I don't really think that counts as a DLC because I think it was technically a standalone thing. If you want a proper DLC,
it does count, I think. It does count, I think.
Okay. Well, in a similar vein, but I think more as a proper DLC, I think this did come out as a standalone as well, is Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. It's almost better than the main game. It's so good.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's almost better, but yeah, it is very good, and that was one of my choices too, the Red Dead Redemption DLC. Like I said, it was a standalone. The fact that it was standalone itself, it shouldn't detract from the fact that it's a DLC. You don't need the base game, but still, it is based on the game, and it's an accompaniment of the main game. I think it's just an added. It's just pro-consumer, the fact that you don't need the base game in order to play it. I think it's great. The one that kind of, I don't know, changed the game, but the DLC. I mean, you touched on a couple of things there in your question before I get into my answer. But you say that some people just think it's chopped off bits of games. Now, yeah, we do say that sometimes, but that's only when the DLC launches day one, right? When you've got obvious things like skins and characters that are separated off, or like areas or something that could easily be included in the day one version of the game, and it's not. That is inexcusable. That is when the parts of the games are chopped off. When you're talking 3-6 months down the line, when this is another release, it's DLC 3 or 6 months down the line to release. That's a different case entirely. Still different kettle of fish, let's say. And I wouldn't categorize that as chopped off bits of game. And it kind of definitely makes sense there, the way that you explain it, in that the developers are just working on that while the game is ready to be released or whatever. That ideas that came late in the day. That makes a lot of sense, and yeah, you support that absolutely. I wouldn't rally against that in any way. In terms of DLC, we're talking about Total War. Rome Total War was 2005, I think it was released, and that was one of my favorite games ever. They're actually remastering that in a couple of months, so that's coming out soon, which is awesome. But they did have a Barbarian Invasion DLC, which I played, which was awesome. It didn't kind of change the game, but just give it a lot more depth. And I think like day one, that's coming to the expansion, to the remake. That all of the DLC are in that remake, which is awesome. And the other one was Mountain Blade Warband. Mountain Blade. Warband was the DLC to the original Mountain Blade. So Mountain Blade itself was just the base standard first game. Warband was the expansion, and then Bannerlord now is the sequel. So Mountain Blade Warband was the better DLC. Like I said, I'm all in favour of DLC when there's been the correct amount of development that's gone into it. That it's obviously not just detracting from the main game to try and upsell you and get more money for it. So thanks for the question, Rob. There's the second part of the question here. Are there any games you wish had some DLC but never got any?
Red Dead Redemption 2. I'd love
RDR2.
Undead Nightmare 2.0, or the other one. Well, two things. I want just a story expansion, but with Sadie or Charles, because Sadie, she starts off as the kind of cowering housewife thing, really comes into her own and starts becoming a bounty hunter. Like, that sounds really cool. I want to play more of that. And Charles, he's my favorite camp member just because he's moody and mysterious and quite grumpy, and I just like that in my characters. I like a little bit of intrigue because he's got a bunch of he's half Native American, half black, so he's got all the ties to Native American culture and how the West was kind of dealing with that at the time in the context of the game. I'm trying not to spoil too much of the story. But I just think he's really interesting. So Sadie. So give me those two / Undead Nightmare 2.0. But it's never ever gonna happen. There's no single player DLC coming to Red Dead 2 at all. It's not happening.
Well,
you can come back to this podcast if it ever happens, and you can shoot me in the face. It's not happening.
Yeah, we won't do that. I won't shoot your dog either. But GTA 5 is the obvious choice here, and I think the community has been rallying for just some DLC that isn't online bullshit for GTA 5 for years and years and years. It's one of the biggest games to have sold in the last 10 years, if not the biggest. The game which has sold the most in the last, outside of Minecraft and like Tetris, it's like the third most bought game ever. But there's no single player DLC for it, and that speaks volumes.
And again, it's not going to happen.
People are playing online and they're getting that microtransaction money. As the industry's changed now, they don't need to do that to make loads and loads of money. It's a shame because I did enjoy GTA 5. I would be looking forward to a GTA 6 at the same account. That's the same reason why Red Dead Redemption 2 will not have any DLC, because they've got Red Dead Online now and they're just raking in the microtransactions just like they do on GTA 5. So that is a big shame. I can't think of any other games that I wish had some DLC but never got any, to be honest. I don't know. I generally feel that DLC isn't
it's not something I
dabble
dabble
with
not
very
quite
often.
The same. Yeah. Normally it's after the games come out and I've been through that, and I'm onto new things now. I seldomly will get a DLC. Sometimes I do. Like I won't, swear it off at all times, but generally I'm content with the main game. But there is one final part to this question, and it's not really a question. It just says, if Henry is reading this one, sorry for the length. But fortunately, I didn't have to read this one, so I'll take the next one, which is nice and short. It's from Metalshark again. In honor of Kona 1's game idea validation from last week's podcast, how about a Bollywood Dark Souls, where partway through every boss fight, the combat section abruptly ends and you've got to get on the Kinect and dance, get on the SingStar microphone and sing, or sitar hero your way to victory. I absolutely love the sound of that. That sounds hysterical. Some people can play Dark Souls with a Guitar Hero controller anyway, which is seriously impressive, but I just think that'd be fun. It'd make the games much more enjoyable because they're so brooding and dark, which, to be fair, the atmosphere is one of the few things I actually do like about the Souls genre. And then out of nowhere, you just hear those that sitar string coming in, and then everyone starts doing the dance. I shan't do it now because A, it'll be very poor, and it might be a bit racially insensitive.
Great suggestion there, Metalshark. It probably wouldn't attract me to be playing Dark Souls any more than I currently do. I just leave it at that, shall we? I'd rather not be dancing to Dark Souls, but that's just my personal preference. Let's move on to Mr. Marcus Hicks's question for this week. Okay, got a bit of a long question, but I was wondering if either Gaz or Henry played the original Disco Elysium. This isn't a long question at all. That was a single sentence. And then he goes on, the recent free update to the game adds full voice acting as well as a number of additional new features, and I can honestly say that it vastly improves an already excellent game. So my question is, are there any other games in your library that you'd like to see get the Disco Elysium treatment? First part of your question, have you played the original Disco Elysium? No, because like I touched on earlier in the podcast, I'm waiting for it to come out on Switch because I love the RPGs on Switch, and it'll be the type of experience that I will enjoy more on the go, being able to, chill out in the evening on my bed or sit in front of the TV when the missus is watching something else or whatever. It's just one of those games for me, and hopefully it comes with a fully voice acted version.
The Final Cut version. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same spot. It keeps coming up on my like Steam store page, or it's on sale somewhere. I'm like, nah, but I want it on the Switch. I want to play it on the sofa in handheld mode. That's what I want. In terms of are there any games that you want to see get the Disco Elysium treatment, I can't really think of any off the top of my head. I mean, there's a bunch of indie games where I would like voice acting, because I think voice acting elevates it so much. Well, even if it's bad voice acting has its place in the world. We've got to enjoy it. I guess Narita Boy, that doesn't have any voice acting, and I think that could be interesting if it did, but then again, it doesn't need it. Like, it's fine without it. So I don't know. I can't really think of any.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, games are elevated with fully voice acted. And I think I can't remember. Was it Persona 5?
Oh, any game where there's bodies and bodies of text, even if it's in like an encyclopedia, just read it. Read it. I can't look at a wall of text like that. Just have a voice say it to me, narrate it to me. I think Mass Effect was good for that. Yeah,
I just had to escape through it. Games like that, really. I think. Then again, on a practical level, getting actors to read lines and lines and lines, it takes some doing. And the fact that I talked earlier about Dex. How that was fully voice acted was definitely an attractive feature of that game, and the effort that they must have gone through, and it was decent voice acting too. My only qualm with it was I would probably wish I watch all my YouTube videos on 1.5 speed, because I just don't have the patience to sit there, because I can take in information quicker than people can talk. So why not give me that option in games too? That would be an awesome addition to get. I can just speed up to 1.5 or 1.25 or 1.75 or whatever. In Dex, there just happens to be a lot of pauses in between sentences, so that someone will say something and then they'll continue like that. And I'm like, well, I can see what you're going to say next, because the subtitles are there. I can see what you're about to say, but you don't have to pause a 1.5 seconds. Like, whoever edited that video just needs to trim that up a bit, or give me the option to speed it up. I think I've just got to be so great addition.
Dramatic.
But all in all, Dex was great, and I think all games should strive to try and do that. I know it's impossible for indie developers, but the fact that it's in there is just a bonus for any game, that's for sure.
Okay, we've got two final questions in one here from Dayoff. Okay, first one. What are your earliest video game memories? What you played first? Other than the classic Mario and Zelda on NES, I was playing games like Tunnels of Doom on the Texas Instruments computer and, scared shitless doing it, the Forbidden Forest series on the Commodore 64. Gaz is old enough for those two, so I'm particularly curious if he experienced the pants-sweating terror that Forbidden Forest and the Commodore 64 sound card was to a 4-year-old. So, earliest memories, and were you really terrified of the Forbidden Forest on the Commodore 64?
It's weird, because I never played Forbidden Forest, Commodore 64, and I think it was a time. Oh God, yeah, it looks familiar, but I never played this one. It does look very frightening. It was so long ago for me that something happened in my brain, and I can't remember my very first. I mean, I was playing when I was like 6 and 7 and 8 years old, and you're talking 35 years ago now, man. That's way too long. But the first games I played were like Jet Set Willy. I know it sounds a bit weird now. Like the Dizzy games. Jet Set Willy was like basically the very first one I think I can remember, and it's them on the Speccy ZX Spectrum. That's basically I don't have any formed memories of playing those games. I can't remember the emotions or the action of playing the game. I just remember the games themselves, because like I said, my memory sucks, and it was so long ago. So unfortunately, but the thing is with gaming back then, right? You might be into gaming, and you might have played a whole bunch of games, and someone else like Dayoff might have been into gaming at the same time, played a whole bunch of games, and played completely different games, and the two might not have overlapped, because you didn't have AAA huge budget games back in the day. They were all pretty much indie games, and they're all pretty low budget games, and everyone could produce one of these games with a small budget and a small team of people. So it was kind of more of a free for all. That's how I remember it anyway. More of a free for all type of kind of Wild West type of time for games. So if the fact that I don't remember that game, it's not unusual. Thanks for the question, Dayoff.
One for me is the talking about being scared shitless prompted me for it. We never finished the game, but we had Resident Evil 3 on our PS1 way back. I remember looking at the box and seeing Nemesis on it and being like, this looks cool, let's play it. When I played it with my sister, who's a little bit older, I'm sure I've said this story in the past anyway. I was playing with my sister, who's a little bit older than me. I think she's about 2 or 3 years older than me, I can't really remember. And she likes the idea that it was a girl this time. The main character was a girl, and she could do that. She had like the tank top and the skirt, and my sister thought that was cool. Jill Valentine, obviously. So she did all the walking around the city, exploring, because she wasn't like not really scared by zombies or anything. She just wants to play an adventure game. She's not interested in anything else other than it's a girl character that she can play as. But then anytime a zombie would, burst out of a door, or one of the dogs would come out or something like that, she would go bananas and she overarm throw through the controller at me every single time, and she'd only be sitting right beside me, not far at all. So bang, and I'm like, okay, all right. And it's horrific, PS1 tank controls. I'm pretty sure we didn't even have the analog PlayStation 1 controller. We had the one without the sticks. It was just the D-pad and just face buttons. So that's horrific to consider now. So yeah, that was one. I got beaten up with a controller and forced to fight zombies. Then the other one is just general Smash Bros stuff, because we used to play that very, very regularly, Smash Bros Melee, and it was always a toss-up between me and one of my brothers who could get to Link fastest, and whoever got to Link, then the other one would have to settle for young Link, who is just nowhere near as good. And because he was older, and I think he's about 5 years older than me, he usually wins. I think it's maybe a little bit more than that. I can't remember how. Maybe. Anyway, it doesn't matter how old my brother is. He'd always beat me, but now, these days, I wipe the floor with all of them. I completely dominate them, and it is brilliant. Like, I'm not that good at Smash. When you compare it to like actual Smash tournament competitors, it's a different story. But I will annihilate all of them. But fortunately, they all keep coming back because we've got nostalgia. They don't care that I'll be just battering them every time. We've got that trained into our brain that we like playing Smash Bros, and it happens every year. Every time I go home, really. If I'm at home for a semi-extended period of time, I'll bring my Switch, and we'll kind of look across the room at each other and just kind of go, Smash, and then we'll do it. We'll find a space, and even if it's like a 10-minute match, we'll just give it a go. So Smash is a big part of my life.
There you go. Thanks for the question. We've got another part of the question, or another question entirely there. So do you want to read that one?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and another related question: how was your first MMORPG? My first was barely known Korean franchise of a game called Nexus: The Kingdom of the Winds, which was based off a history-inspired manhwa. I'm going to say manhwa, a Korean manga. It released the North American version the same year Ultimate Online came out. If anyone watching this ever played this, I am genuinely shocked, as it may very well be the longest running graphical MMORPG out there, yet I cannot find anyone who has ever heard of it. We kind of touched on it before. I don't play MMORPGs. I don't have the time commitment. I can't be bothered to put that much effort into it. But the best answer I can give you is RuneScape. Everyone, when I was a kid in primary school, everyone was on RuneScape, and it's kind of having a semi resurgence these days. RuneScape was it, but even then, I wasn't too fussed because our internet was awful. So it was painful to play. It was so slow and took so long to load. But yeah, unfortunately, MMOs aren't really my wheelhouse.
I had to do some Googling. I wasn't sure, but the answer for me is Earth and Beyond, which was like a space one that was made by EA, Westwood Studios. That was my first MMORPG. I thought it was between that and Star Wars Galaxies, but I moved on to Star Wars Galaxies after that. Originally 2002 was when Earth and Beyond released, and then 2003 in June was when Star Wars Galaxies first released, and I pretty much jumped into that at the off and played that for a couple of years. But at the time, I was playing a lot of Call of Duty and that too. So it was basically, we were playing in clans, and it was a group of us that were playing Star Wars Galaxies together. But Earth and Beyond, man, classic game. From what I remember of it, yeah, that was my very first MMORPG. Although it was slightly, it was one of those games you'd buy, and there was no recurring. It wasn't like World of Warcraft. We had to pay every month. You just buy it outright, and then you owned the game. But because it was online, EA, as they do, not making any money out of this anymore, and there are no subscriptions, so we'll shut it down, and that's what they've done. So there's no support for it anymore. Although I think there is a project that someone's working on right now to kind of bring it back, and there's somebody who is trying to resurrect the game and allow people to still play it. So which is awesome. But yeah, Earth and Beyond, I loved that game. I loved it, absolutely loved it, because it was like EVE Online, although it wasn't at all in any way. But you you could play in your ship, right? And you'd fly around and you get like cloaking device, and then you'd like, yeah, you can go further. Nobody can see me. I can shoot them, and all awesome. And then you go to a dock with a station, and you could get out of your ship and walk around and talk to NPCs and like fight with people and stuff. And they don't even have that yet in EVE Online. And apparently that was supposed to be coming like 5 or 6 years ago, but for EVE Online, that's what I'm saying. Like a game from 2002 can do better than EVE Online. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not even in the same ballpark, let's be honest. But yeah, I had very fond memories of Earth and Beyond. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for the questions this week, day off. And that concludes our community question section. Let's move on to the very next section, which is the Triggered Fanboy comment of the week. All right, this week's Triggered Fanboy comment of the week comes from a user called Sorry. Too bloody late now, isn't it? You're already the Triggered Fanboy.
But he gets out there at the beginning. Just before I even begin, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even his first line, and his first line is apologetic. Gaz, I say this with absolute love for you and Henry, so keep that in mind. It's too fucking late. You can't call yourself sorry, and then say that, and then say what you're about to say. Tough, man, tough. Okay, he goes on. How the hell does a video game enthusiast struggle with a game like The Last of Us 2 to the point where they have to drop it down to the easiest difficulty level? You're right there, dude.
Oh, God.
You sound like you're joking. I understand maybe playing on normal, right? But easy? Is that not made for people with disabilities? Wow.
Oh, that's very insulting.
I'm still going. I'm only halfway through. I have to ask, because what sense of achievement can one feel after just walking through the game without a modicum of challenge? Bloody went all posh
about
there.
Your pride and accomplishment?
And on another note, also with love in brackets, you've been playing games for 30 years. How are you still struggling with a controller in non-FPS games? Okay, run over. I hope I wasn't that triggered guy this week, lol. Too late. You're the triggered guy, and you deserved it.
Even
how
saying
the hell
that
can
is
you
gonna
say
make
things
you
like
the
that to
triggered
me?
guy.
God, it's so. I mean, yeah. Sorry, not sorry should be your username. Yeah. Well, let's try and dissect this. How the hell does a video game enthusiast struggle to a game like Last of Us to the point where they drop it down to the easiest difficulty level? I think you answered it later on when you talked about struggling with a controller in a non-FPS game. I've been playing for 30 years. That is correct. When I started playing games, I was playing with OP, QA, space, right? Those were my controls. There's none of this arrow key. They didn't even think about using the arrow keys. There was no arrow keys maybe on the keyboard for the computers that I was playing on. Didn't use a mouse. It was OP, QA, space, left, right, forward, back, and space. That was how I learned to play games. And then when I progressed onto the Commodore Amiga, yeah, you have a mouse to be able to use, and maybe, yeah, you can point and click now. Yeah, wow, that's a good interface. That's how you play your games. And a little joystick with a button on it, like, remember those? You probably don't, because you think that everybody's born with a controller in their hands. They are not. And I mean, the first controller I played was the original PlayStation. I don't think I owned an original PlayStation. And that was years and years, having played games for years and years and years, right? And then I got this controller. It's like, this is pretty weird. I think it was, I can't remember what the game was now. Crash Bandicoot, right? Crash Bandicoot controller. Yeah, all right, I can kind of do that. But then as soon as I was able to afford one, I bought myself a PC and went back to the regular method of control. And I haven't really looked back. The only time I used I know I've got, you can see there on the screen, maybe you can't see it because it's cropped, but I've got my PlayStation and my Xbox there. And I only ever play them when I can't play a game on my PC, which is rarely, really. It's the PlayStation exclusives. Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, God of War. I'm only playing on a controller because I'm forced to. Spider-Man. I'm only playing on a controller because I'm forced to, because I don't have any other option. And I do it under duress and with very much difficulty. So if I'm playing The Last of Us 2 and I can't control or shoot, and it's really frustrating. And I drop it down just to get through this awkward like situation where people are coming from all different directions, and I can't turn fast enough, I can't shoot fast enough, and I'm running out of energy, I'm running out of ammunition, and it's frustrating as hell. And you're going to hold that against me because I'm a mouse and keyboard player? Screw you. Screw you, sorry. I'm not taking your absolute... I don't care that you've an absolute love for me and Henry, and it's a shame you are the triggered fanboy this week, although he wasn't really a fanboy. I think I got more triggered than you did. I don't really know why I got so upset now. Thinking about it in context of his apology when he first started. But yeah, I think that explains it. I still can't get my head around how you think that I must be good enough to use a controller. I'm not. I suck at using a controller. That's just the simple answer to this. And people with disabilities, right? It's not made for people with disabilities. Well, wow, you went there. I can't believe you went there. You're calling me a disabled person. That's low. I think
disabled people everywhere should be offended that they're being compared to you, for goodness sake.
I guess that's fair. But yeah, obviously we didn't have a proper triggered fanboy this week, so we used that one because it was kind of funny. It was kind of funny. So thanks for the comment anyway, sorry.
Right, I've got a couple. I don't have loads because I've got a few. I'll get to that. So I got one here from it's a video which was Activision goes to war with an indie dev, but also the middle story, Sony invests big in Epic Games. So this person said, how many times did it, take, joke about takes, to read all those raises with no F-ups? So in the Epic Games story, along with Sony, there's a bunch of other contributors which have come together and given Epic Games $1 billion in funding to... basically just make Fortnite the biggest thing in the world. Just put Fortnite everywhere, why not? And there's a list of investors, and it took me a whole ass minute of just going it over and over and over again until I got it all, like little bits at a time, sometimes all of it at once, but it took ages. But to set myself an extra challenge, I'm going to try and do it again, live on air, for the studio audience. So... there's one point in particular where it kept screwing me up every time, and hopefully I'm going to get past that. And I have been speaking a lot today, so hopefully my mouth is all warmed up. Right. Appaloosa, Bailey Guildford, Fidelity Management and Research Company LLC, GIC, Funds and Accounts advised by T. Rowe Price Associates, Ontario Teachers Pension Plan Board, Funds and Accounts managed by BlackRock, Park West, KKR, Alliance of Bernstein, Altimeter, Franklin Templeton, and Luxor Capital. I got it pretty good. I got it. That was all right. It wasn't so bad.
You did all right, Henry. Yeah.
I read it as Alison Bernstein, not Alliance Bernstein. Why is it Alliance Bernstein? I don't know. Anyway, so it took me ages, and it took me less time this time. But normally, once I make one mess up, I'll make loads more before I get back into the rhythm of it.
Luckily, you can manage to edit all those out so we don't hear them. So
some of them are really bad, and sometimes the edits are really bad too, and I'm like, I have messed this up so bad I can't even clean it up. But you just go, it's smush them together and a little fade on each of them so that it doesn't sound too egregious.
There you go. So my next comment was on the loot box video that we published to the main channel discussing, are loot boxes ever okay? And Mighty Link comes in with, when Overwatch first came out, I found that not to be so bad. You could get several free ones a day. No need to pay. When you get duplicates of items, you get a fair bit of currency back to spend on the exact item you want instead of dealing with random chance. But so many other games take it way too far. Loot boxes, especially from EA, have gotten much worse. I also find it funny when so many YouTubers use Overwatch as an example of loot boxes, when I find that to be the least concerning example of all the other games that do it so much worse. I think the reason I chose this was because I think the way that you justify loot boxes just completely sidesteps our issue. Our issue with loot boxes is that it introduces a gambling mechanic into games, which is unnecessary. And our point in that video last week was they don't need to be there. You can just give people rewards without the gambling aspect to it, without monetizing it. And the fact that you're adding the gambling mechanics in there to try and give you a sort of adrenaline rush for getting really excited for what you're going to get out of the loot box. That just undermines the experience and it devalues the game, in my opinion. I think you can't get away from that. Oh, it's loot boxes, but it's not so bad because there are other loot boxes which are worse. It's one of the worst justifications because the gambling mechanics are still there. They're still trying to manipulate you. They're still trying to get money off you. They're still trying to get you hooked to the game. They're still trying to get you to come back by using these psychological manipulation techniques against you, and you're completely, that's going over your head. It's completely, you're sidestepping that rationale and saying, oh, it's all right because it's not as bad as the others. It doesn't mean it's all right. They're still in there and they're still egregious. They should never be included in games. And I think that's why I wanted to read this out, because there are a lot of people who say, it's all right because it's not as bad as the other one. It's not all right. It's not all right, damn it.
A few people were loot box defenders in that comment section, and it was a real shock. There were a few real bad takes in there, which I'm not even going to air out. I can't be dealing with that.
People are entitled to their opinions, and it's fine. I don't mind someone saying
in our sort of ecosystem.
Yeah, I don't mind people saying I like him. That's just the way I feel. But when they're trying to justify it and like the previous commenter, he just sidesteps the rationale. If you can come back with a reason why what I've said doesn't make any sense, or the reasons why what I've said kind of is undermined or whatever, I'd understand. I take that on board and try and process it. If someone's just got an opinion, I like loot boxes. I think they're all right. Okay, that's your choice. You're allowed to have that opinion. I don't mind people liking loot boxes. I don't particularly like it, but the people who just ignore the issues and think, no, it's fine, it's all right, it's worse than that game, that's just bullshit rationale. It's bullshit justification, and you should start thinking about it a bit more critically.
Right, well, we are running on a bit, so I'll do one more, and then I've got another kind of thing after that. But this one I've only just read, and I think it's really funny. It's on the loot box video. The only fun loot boxes I've ever encountered is from Monster Hunter World, but then they had teeth and fought back. I like that. The dinosaurs and dragons and whatnot in Monster Hunter are a loot box because you kill them and you get loot. That's all that matters. Then there's one chap who's been commenting back on a couple of things, saying, well, Horizon Zero Dawn had loot boxes filled with resources, no keys. You find them, get them as rewards, or buy them with in-game coins. Vermintide 2, where you're rewarded with the loot box for how well you did in the mission, and that's all. Monetization is either a direct purchase or some of their viable currency. The two instances where loot boxes are done that are not evil. Now, I think this person, he's argued it in a couple other comments as well. It's not just that the money thing is a problem. If we put the gambling thing aside, it's just bad design. Why can't I just get what I want or be shown it? I think I touched on it. Transparent loot boxes, they're not a solution. What's the point? Just make it a purchase. The whole fun, because opening a loot box can be fun. We touched on that. Gambling can be fun. The whole appeal of that, the flashing lights, the confetti comes out, it's a surprise. But then if it's transparent, you know what's in it, so it's not a surprise, then just let me buy it. Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get that argument at all. It's not just the monetization thing. It's bad design. At least in my opinion. Evidently, some people disagree.
Yeah, I totally agree. So my last comment, I've got another one, but I'm going to leave it out. So the last comment is the conflicted comment of the week by Gaz Played, who commented on the Days Gone video. The game kicks ass. Story is beautiful, and I love the world you play in, and I love the characters. Sony can fuck off.
You need to be saying nice things to Sony.
What? How does that work? Like this game that Sony created is beautiful. I love the characters, love the world, but they can fuck off even though they created it. You're only in love with the game because they financed it in the first place. They backed it. I don't understand that mentality. Like, if you like the game, then surely you're a little bit, you should appreciate Sony a little bit more because they, in fact, created it.
They still made it in the first place. Well, just to close up with comments, I just want to read some nice ones about Days Gone and people being excited and wanting it to happen because we like the game. We've talked about so many times on this podcast. So I've got one, Peter Farmer. Dude, I love Days Gone. The world is dripping with atmosphere and potential despite its flaws. The hordes are epic. There's another one, Joshua Barbato. I love Days Gone. This is such a shame. The franchise had a lot of potential. And another one, Neil Ryan. Days Gone was a great game, and I hope the follow-up would have added more options to gameplay and a larger map, etc. So I'm really annoyed they cancelled it, as I wanted to explore the premise they set up at the end of the last one. Hopefully someone will buy the license off them and develop a sequel. Garni Sianturi, in caps. Come on, we need Days Gone 2. I love this game AF. Is that an expression? I love this game AF, like as... okay. And then back into lowercase. I love when I see Oregon with the apocalypse theme, the mountains, the snows, the waterfalls, etc. And this person comes... Oh, this will be my last one to stop gushing about the game. I said it's far from a perfect game, which is true. Joel Hall, on the other hand, and 17 people agree with him who liked it. Far from a perfect game, it was astounding. Oh, yeah, well, it was really good. Doesn't mean it didn't have a load of issues like pacing and performance problems. But anyway, I just thought it'd be nice to close up with a bunch of positive comments all about this game that we like, and evidently lots of other people do too. And it's a shame that it's going to be dormant for a while. I don't believe it's cancelled, but it's going to be sitting on the shelf for at least a little bit.
It'll just be that much better when it comes along.
That much sweeter.
Eventually. So there you go. Thanks for everybody's contributions to the comments in YouTube on YouTube this week, which we've read out. Let's move on now to the final segment of this podcast, which is the Bad Dad Joke of the Week. We're running on 2 hours now, so I'll keep this quick. Tons has the Bad Dad Joke of the Week, and he comes in with, I got hit in the head with a can of Diet Coke today. Don't worry, I'm not hurt. It was a soft drink. Okay, another couple of really quick ones. Did you know Stephen King has a son named Joe? I'm not joking, but he is. Oh, and then the very last one. What's the difference between a hippo and a Zippo? One is really heavy, and the other is a little lighter.
Classic. That soft drink one, I really like that. I've not heard that one before. That one impressed me. Well done.
Yeah, it was
the
Bad Dad Joke of the Week. Thanks, tons. And thanks everybody else for leaving your bad dad jokes in the appropriate channel on Discord. If you've got any bad dad jokes, leave them there, and hopefully you'll get featured next week. And that is it. End of the podcast, 2 hours long. Bam! You definitely get value for money from PGG. So thanks everybody for watching. On behalf of Henry and myself, we'll see you again in the next one. Until then, bye for now.